Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome to the show, where we interview the nation's leading real estate entrepreneurs. It's your host, Stephen Schmidt, and I'm back at it again, as I always say, and I got a special treat for you guys here in the studio today. I've got an absolute Swiss Army knife of an investor with me here. I got Michael Doherty in the house. Michael is in the New England space. He's a New Englander. I've got some friends in Maine. That's how they would say it. I'm not sure if there's any crossover accents in Connecticut where he hails, but he's built an incredible portfolio through creative finance, flipping, and multifamily investing strategies. He's got a ton of experience in the commercial aspect, class property management, how to analyze deals, and we're going to go all over today. But before we do that, just remember, at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, and real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x their businesses so they can build the businesses they've always wanted in order to live the lives they've always dreamed of. Because at the end of the day, that's why we do this game anyways. So, Michael, welcome to the show today.
Steven, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate your time and looking forward to it.
You bet. So, first and foremost, just so that way we can give some folks a little bit more background on you. You started investing in 2015, but tell us how you got into real estate in the beginning and how it led to where you're at now today, almost a decade later here in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure like many of your listeners, working a W-2 job in finance. I had a great job out of college. I went to the University of Connecticut, go Huskies. And I was selling mutual funds to financial advisors. I had my Series 7 and 6 license. Worked hard to get those. Was very proud of it. Was doing well, but checked all the boxes that you kind of grew up learning about, and I started working there, and had my nice cube, 2 monitors, the 9 to 5 gig, and I started learning about real estate just as a kind of a side hustle passion, and then I really grew to not like that job, which really prompted me to get my real estate license, and with the hopes of kind of replacing that W-2 income with real estate income. I bought my first 2-family in 2015, 2016. I lived in one unit and I rented out the other. So I was able to pretty much live for free while making a pretty decent paycheck. And I was able to save a lot for the next deal. And that kind of transpired. Eventually, in 2022, I worked in that job for 7 years. So over those 7 years, I was able to build up, a decent portfolio, and quit that W-2 job and pursue a real estate agent business and investing full-time. So I went full-time in real estate in 2022.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
That's awesome, man. 7 years of investing before you left your job is a commitment, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. Why did it take 7 years instead of 3 years? I know COVID kind of played a factor in that, made you reevaluate some things based on our pre-show conversation, but like why was it 7 years and not like 3? What was it about that mark for you?
Well, I think for me, like everyone has a different lifestyle. Here in New England,
sure.
especially Connecticut, it's not a cheap place to live, and it was very scary, admittedly very scary and daunting to give up, a pretty solid salary to go out on your own and, grind it out in the real estate agent business, and you never know when your next paycheck's coming. So, and despite what many gurus say in the real estate investing space, if you're investing in two to four unit, at least in our market, if you're making $500 to $1,000 passive a month, that's a win. That is a double to a home run. So it takes a lot of property to make the passive income to supplement any current income that you have. So, and that's before a roof goes, or you need to redo the driveway, or the washer dryer leaks into the unit below you and you got to fix that. So it just takes, it takes a lot to buy a property. After your first one, you generally have to come up with 20 to 25% down, which, unless you're very wealthy, which I'm not and wasn't then, you got to save up. So you got to get creative with it. So it took 7 years to build up a good enough book of business and the agent to at least come close to my W-2 salary, in addition to growing that portfolio, because I guess I could have done it a little bit quicker if I wasn't investing on the side and all my money wasn't going to that, if I was just saving. But I guess in a way you are saving by buying more multifamily. So for me, it was just the right time.
Wow. So you got your license as a real estate agent. You left your job. What was that experience like? Did you feel free?
Free-ish, but you actually, let's say you're working 8 to 5, 9 to 5, you're punching in, you're punching out, your weekends are free. When you are out on your own and you're your own business owner, you work twice as hard. So I was,
100%.
still am, and so free, yes, as you can make your own schedule. And, if I want to work out at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I can, instead of 5:30 in the morning, because you have to get to your 8 o'clock time, time slot. So flexibility is there, but I'm putting in 10, 12-hour days like nothing, as many other entrepreneur investors are. So yeah,
Well,
yes and no.
No, I totally get that, man. It's kind of like there's this glorification of, freedom and whatever. And it's like, to an extent, I think really what people are looking for in terms of freedom, I'm growing to a point in my own life where I don't think freedom is the right term. I think it's more of that flexibility, like you talked about. Because like even me, I'm responding to messages last night at 9:30 at night.
Right.
So it's almost like you trade that 8 to 5, those golden handcuffs, for a 5 to 8. The only difference is that you have a little more flexibility with what happens between that 5 and 8.
Yeah, and there is something to be said about, no one's telling you what to do. For example, like going to a wedding this weekend in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, right?
Oh, nice.
There was a welcome party tomorrow, Thursday, and, my wife had to take the time off, take Thursday, Friday, and we're extending it to Monday, and she had to get approval for that, whereas me is like, I'll just push some stuff around. I'll figure it out, maybe even
Right.
work from Cape, who cares? But like having the opportunity to do that, I'd say is really glorifying, and I appreciate that a lot.
Sure. What's been more important to you, and how is this? So, trying to figure out how to frame this question the right way. What's been more important, and how has these two things evolved, time or money? Does that question make sense?
Yeah. Let's see if I can answer that for you. So obviously money is important, but I think going back to the freedom piece, that is I place that at a higher emphasis than I do money. I think, if you do something you love, you don't really work a day in your life, and the money will ultimately come. And I think real estate for me fits that
Yeah.
bucket. I would rather, I live in a pretty modest house, and for a while we were looking for like a bigger house, which comes with a bigger mortgage. And, I'm in real estate, so I see all these people buying these and getting tied down to large mortgages. And when you take a step back, it's like I'd rather go on 3 or 4 vacations and get experiences and not
Mm.
be house poor per se. And I'm a big car guy, so admittedly, I probably have one too many cars that I'm buying. But I'd rather spend money on experiences than you know have to make $1 million to have a
Yeah.
crazy nice house and kind of um, keep up with the Joneses, so to speak.
Sure.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
I think that's a really interesting mindset shift that we've had culturally for people in your position, my position eventually too, I think is it used to be like our grandparents, the just expectation if they were going to be successful because they didn't have the AI and it was harder to get connections. We didn't have Facebook or LinkedIn or masterminds or whatever to be a part of. It was just so much harder to get around successful people back then. So the expectation was almost you've got to work 16 hours a day, 7 days a week to build a business. So eventually when you're 60 or 70 years old, then you're able to go and enjoy golf and hopefully you still have your health. And then your next generation, they get to enjoy, all the fruit of your labor. Whereas I think in our generation, what's shifted there to your point is we're not so much worried about making money so we can live in a great house and never be there. We're more focused on like, you know what? I want to actually like experience the world for what it is. That's a huge thing for me and my wife that we've talked about even ourselves is it's like, it'd be nice for us to have a, $1.5 million, $2 million property on the beach in Florida. But at the same time, and even though we're not on a level to even consider something like that now, it's almost like, yeah, but we could also have one that's like a third of that. And it's still 10 minutes from the beach. And we could still go and enjoy crazy vacations with our kids as we're raising a family. So I think that's a really interesting shift.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead. Go
It's
ahead.
just like at the end of the day, like, does a bigger house make you happy? I mean,
Mm,
maybe the day you close it, but it's more cleaning, more maintenance, a higher mortgage payment, likely. And I think you just got to figure out like what truly makes you happy.
mm,
A paid off house and, maybe a small mortgage on a smaller condo somewhere. Like that sounds amazing. Or the ability to go pick up and go on a month cruise somewhere. I don't know. Never been on a cruise, but sure, I'll try it for a month if,
yeah,
if the opportunity came. So I
totally.
think just having again, back to the flexibility, uh, to be able to do what you want when you want. And if you ever have kids, to spend time with them. So I think that's why we all did the real estate thing.
Yeah, 100%. Now, you said you're a car guy too. I just got to ask, this is more a personal question than anything. What are your favorites you're into right now?
So 3 cars I have, I love. Uh, my daily is a 2022 BMW X5 M50.
Nice.
That's sometimes I don't like driving it because I'll go into like as far as real estate agent stuff, I go see some pretty sketchy stuff. So
Sure.
I'm driving in some war zones and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
shit, should I? Oh, I probably can't swear, but I'm
No,
like
you're
need
good.
some bulletproof glass on this thing. No, I love that car. I will never give it up. It's a great daily driver. It's safe. It's big. You go anywhere you want with it. Um, and then I really like classic cars. I grew up going to Carlisle, Pennsylvania my entire life. Went again this year. It's kind of me My dad and all of his buddies have been going since I was probably 12 years old. So I grew up, he had a 1970 Chevelle, he had a 1969 GTO. My dream car is probably like a new Porsche 911 Turbo S. It's a nice $250,000 price tag. So I'm not there yet, but that would probably be the dream car.
Yeah.
Right now I have a 1968 Camaro. Actually, I was driving it today. But that sits in the garage. I only take that on nice days. I bought that probably 5 years ago. And then my kind of fast supercar, we'll call it, is an '09 GTR. Love the car, more car than you'll ever need. I'll probably trade it in for a Porsche one day, not yet, but one day.
Yeah.
So
I love it,
kind of
man.
got the daily, and then the two toys.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Dude, that's awesome. I'm a big car guy too. You can actually kind of see it on my wall, but I've got one up there, and then I've got a little list of a few on my shelf here, a few McLarens and a Lambo.
Nice.
But my wife,
What's your dream car?
Man, so here's the thing. I don't actually have one dream car, to be quite transparent. I think the one that I'm gonna feel like, this is like it's gonna hit different would be the 720S. That would be the hits different car for me. But my wife, she bought this one up here, and it's actually a Koenigsegg Gemera. And she'd asked me this question. She was so sneaky about it. This was like 2 years ago. And she said, what's like, she asked me the same question, what's your dream car? And I was like, babe, the more I drive, like right now, I just actually paid off my truck, right? I owed almost nothing left on it. I just wouldn't pay the stupid thing off because I had like a 4% interest rate. So it's like,
yeah, it's free money.
It's like, yeah. So, but I finally was like, I'm going to bite the bullet, not have a car payment for a while. I got 200,000 miles on it. It's 12 years old. It's like that classic deal of I could go get something and I could drive something a whole lot nicer, but also like I want to do different things with my money right now. And I've kind of come to a phase where I don't necessarily want to have one. Like I want to have the option to drive a vehicle for 6 months and then just trade it for something different. I want to try it all. I work in the car business, so getting to drive a bunch of different cars, in earlier careers was really neat. But how I look at it is I've made it. There's nothing left for me. Car is what I look at it. And so I told her probably a Koenigsegg, because if I ever get to a point where I'm comfortable dropping a few $1 million on a vehicle, like I'll know at that point, like there's just nothing left. Like at this point, it's just all philanthropy. That's all I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Yep.
Because I would feel uncomfortable right now driving $100,000 car. You know what I mean? Because of what I'm accustomed to.
Sure.
And so for now, I'm just like, I'm doing what the crypto guys call hodling, right? Like I'm holding on for dear life, because once that can of worms get open, I'm going to be exactly like you, man. I'm going to have 4 cars in the driveway, need to rent a place to put them all. So it's going to be bad. So I'm holding off as long as I can.
Space becomes the biggest issue, but I'm also a big proponent of that. I'd be scared to drive $100,000 car, because it's like, you go to a parking lot, it's like, is anyone going to ding my door? I got to park a mile away, or, a rock flies up and scrapes it on the highway. It's like, you don't end up driving it. And that's not the purpose why you buy these things. You buy them to drive them. So, I like, I definitely got good deals on all of these things. And, I don't know. It's a hobby. It's a passion.
To your point, man, I love what you said there. We buy them to drive them. And that's the thing for me, like where I'm at in my current state, I would feel uncomfortable for the same exact reason. Is somebody going to ding it? Is that going to ruin my day or whatever? Right. So no matter what I buy in the future, I want to be at a point where I had this old mentor of mine named Chuck. And Chuck had a mentor back when he was actually involved, like early Amway days. Crazy enough, it was really successful in the business, interestingly. And he was driving out, it was in California, and this mentor had a Rolls Royce Phantom. And he goes, hop in the car, Chuck. And they went on this little trip. And he talks about how he was driving down a gravel road in this Rolls Royce, and you could hear the chips of the rocks hitting the car. And my mentor, Chuck, looked over to his mentor and he goes, man, aren't you, like, we're driving in a Rolls Royce. Like, aren't you concerned about the paint and it chipping it? And he just looked over at him and goes, it's a car. And so it's like, for me, to your point, I'm not worried about somebody dinging my door in a parking lot. My sidebars are rusting out, so it's like, I'm able to drive it with no concern. And I always want to feel like that when I'm in a vehicle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I also love the thought of just being like a unbeknownst multi-millionaire driving the most like basic car and like basic living style,
Right.
but yet you have like, millions in the bank. I always thought that was cool. Like the low flyers.
Yeah,
So,
nobody knows, man. I've got a good friend of mine who I'm sort of relationally connected to, who owns a very, 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 he's a second generation, very successful, v- put it like this. I don't want to give too much away, but the company does 25 million a year. They essentially manufacture a certain product that they then white label to other folks, and they're sold in like Kroger's, like Kroger's, your Dillon's, whatever you guys have up there. And the dude drives an Infinity, like he's probably
under
making
the
5
radar.
mil a year net, and he drives an Infinity, has no fancy
Yep.
cars, and he lives in a big house on a big property because that's his jam, But you go out,
Yeah,
and you
that's
never
his jam.
know. You
Yep.
never know. So,
Totally
well,
get it.
man, we could talk about cars all day, but let's talk a little bit about real estate before we go over time. So I know one of the things that we talked about was your experience in the commercial class, how to analyze deals, things like that. What's like when you're analyzing a deal, what are the most important things that you're looking at?
Yeah, so I think with any investor, you're always looking for value add deals. No different in the commercial space. You just have to analyze it a little bit different. With residential, 1 to 4 units, you are a beholder to what's called the sales comparison approach. And this is just a valuation method that any appraiser will use. They'll say, okay, you have a 2-family house. It's 4 bedrooms, 2 bath, 2,500 square feet. What if other 4 bedrooms, 2 bath, 2,500 square feet ish sold for within a mile radius? Depends on how big your city is, right? And that's how they're going to derive the value. They're going to use market rents, so it doesn't really matter what it's rented for. It could be vacant. It could be rented for top dollar. They're going to use market rents, which is fine. So you kind of, with a good degree of certainty, can figure out what your ARV is in the residential world. But you're a beholder to what your neighbor does and how much his sold for. In the commercial world, it's primarily based on the income approach of valuation, and it's based on the net operating income. So with the property before your mortgage, what it makes, you have your income, you have your expenses, and that's your net operating income. And then you have your mortgage, and you divide that NOI, net operating income, divided by the going cap rate in your market. And the cap rate is set by a multitude of economic factors, but it's kind of like the projected return of the property, so to speak. So if you take your NOI divided by your cap rate, it's going to spit out a valuation. That valuation is ultimately what the property is worth. So in theory, if you can manipulate your NOI, your net operating income, by either decreasing expenses or increasing income, you can raise that NOI, therefore raising the value of your property. And, you can really manipulate the value of commercial assets by doing that. And the sales comparison approach will be used a little bit in a commercial evaluation, but it's heavily, heavily, heavily weighed on the NOI and the income approach. So I can know by buying an undervalued commercial asset by increasing my rents by XYZ amount and maybe decreasing taxes or decreasing expenses, whether it's, I got a better insurance quote or, right now it's owner paid utilities, but I'm going to separate all the, electrical and all the heating, and I'm going to put those utilities on the tenants. I'm going to decrease my expenses. I, with a good degree of certainty, can know what the valuation is. And we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of increase in value. you don't really see that in the residential world. So that's why I like commercial, is because I can kind of manipulate the numbers a little bit better. Oh, okay.
I was muted somehow.
Oh,
That is
yeah.
probably the best 90-second synopsis that the most succinct synopsis I've ever actually heard on that. That is incredible. And what I like
I
to say is,
appreciate it.
at the end of the day, like when it becomes a bad deal is when your income, or when your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep becomes your downfall, right? And so ultimately it's flipping that around to where your income exceeds your outgo, so your management becomes your upside, right?
That's right. 100%.
That's
100%.
super
So,
interesting.
yeah.
Thanks for that. I feel like send me an invoice afterwards. I appreciate your mentorship. Uh, so with because you're also an expert when it comes to like the property management side of things. What are some of the unique pieces that you bring to the table that are maybe a little bit different than what you've seen others doing?
Oh, man. Property management's a whole topic in itself. We were talking about this before we went live, but I have such I'm torn with property management. I've done both. I've had third party, I've managed myself. Thinking about like we were saying before, it's like I'm always going to be of the belief when you buy your first, for all your listeners, when you buy your first rental property, I really, really think you should manage it yourself at least for 6 months to a year. After that point, you will have learned pretty much everything, a lot, enough to be dangerous to know what you would want to expect when you go to hire a property manager, because you've done it yourself. And no one, I don't care, anyone will tell you different. I don't think anyone will manage it better than yourself. Like, 'cause you care the most. It's your asset. It's your baby.
Sure.
So, but I do think, you get to a point where maybe you're a busy busy 9 to 5 guy, and you want to spend time with your family on the weekends. You don't want to get the broken toilet call on, when you're out to dinner with your wife at Ruby Tuesdays. You just like, I don't want to be bothered. So I think there's a place for third party property management, but then I think you get to a point where maybe that's 10 doors for you, and you hire a third party property manager. You're paying them 6 to 8% gross rents. You know what to expect because you've already done it yourself. But then as you keep scaling, does it make sense to bring management in-house? You're not taking those calls anymore. I'm not saying that, but you're now hiring a full-time handyman 20, 30 hours a week on payroll, and you're lowering your expenses, because every time an issue happens, you have to pay someone for that to solve that problem. But if you have a full-time leasing person or full-time handyman, you just pay them, what your expenses are for that year, right? And they're still solving those problems. Maybe you have a virtual assistant to take those incoming calls. So you have to have a good amount of property to be able to get to that point. It's going to be a different number for everyone, but I think that's where I've always toyed, like, do I keep the third party, or do I kind of bring everything in-house and figure out, and oh, by the way, eventually, if you build up enough of a successful property management company, you could start managing other people's property, and eventually you could sell that off as a business. If you always have third party property management, it's their business, it's not yours. So you can
Right.
never sell that. It's not tangible.
Yeah,
So,
I think to your point too, it depends on your strategy, of course. But if you're really wanting to be a fully vertically integrated real estate business owner, right, you've got to have those different pieces, right? No different than any other business that I think. What is it? It's kind of a little bit of a different scenario, but like Buffett with Berkshire, right? He's got the real estate side, owns the insurance company, owns the furniture store, and owns the railroads the furniture gets shipped on, right? So it's just a constant ability to take the same dollars and make them work multiple times where they continue to just circulate, right? I think that's Chris Crone told a story at an event that I was at one time. If you're familiar with Chris, he's a huge real estate tycoon out from Provo, Utah, and he told a story of when he went to India one time, and he was speaking to a very wealthy person over there, and he asked him, he goes, "What's your guys' word here in India for wealth?" And the guy goes, "Well, we actually don't have a direct word that actually means like wealth," but he goes, "The closest thing was whatever word it was," and he goes, "And what it means is circulation." And I loved that. That stuck with me for probably the last, I can't remember how long ago it was, 2 years or so. And it's always stuck to me of like, man, to really build something that you can walk away from and step back from entirely, whether you put a CEO in or whatever, but to really do it and not ever have to worry about the money running dry is to figure out how to circulate the money and you own it all. You know what I mean?
Yep. 100%. We're all still trying to figure it out.
This is such a great show, man. Appreciate you coming on and sharing some insights with us. I don't want to run too over time, be respectful of your time, although I'm sure we'll stay in touch. But if these folks want to connect with you for more, where should they go for that?
Yeah, I'll email you everything, but I'm on Instagram at Mike Doherty Realtor. I can share my email with you. I can link it to the show notes. We have a website, my business partner and I, skytreeinvestments.com. On there, we have, kind of our portfolio of properties. You can learn more about us. You can invest with us. Also host a podcast, Sky's the Limit. You can check that out. So, happy to share, whatever you need for the show notes. So thank you again for the opportunity. It's been awesome.
100%, Mike. And one last question before you go. What is the next, what do you see on the horizon for the next 12 to 24 months for you guys right now? I know you got some decisions on the property management side of what you're going to do there that you alluded to a little bit, but what do you really see in the next 12 to 24 months? What's on the grand vision put together?
I'd like to get 2 to 3 more properties under the belt which I think will help make that property management decision a little bit easier. Right now, I'm like right on that border. But looking to do, pick up a couple more properties. And then also I'd love to do more private lending. I had my first private lending deal in the Midwest. I had first position lien on it. I got, paid back and made some interest on it. But if you can do that at scale, that is truly passive. You got to underwrite the deal. You got to vet the borrower. But I really enjoyed doing that. So I'd like to get into that a little bit more. I lent out $70,000, so it wasn't a ton of capital, but I mean, this is what banks are doing. That's how they're making their money. So, I think, building up that reserve and keeping that kind of cash flow going, I think that would be, that's what I would love to do.
You want to be the bank. I love it.
That's it.
Awesome. Well, Mike, thanks so much for being here. Y'all go connect with him on Instagram, check him out, show him some love from the Real Estate Pros and Investor Fuel, and we appreciate him being here, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks again, Mike.
Thank you, Stephen. See it.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.